Namaskar and a very warm welcome in this episode. In the last episode, we had talked about the 10x rule and start with your why. I mean, these were the two things which we tried to understand and act upon. So, when we were talking about 10x rules, there were people who asked me, is it possible to be doing the same all throughout? That is a very good question, and we all know it very well that it may not be possible for all of us to doing it every time. So sometimes we have to relax somewhere, and that's very, very important, but not necessarily when you don't require it. If you require it, relax. So while this question was asked to me, I had it in my mind that we usually appreciate people for doing well, whether these are school children or a teacher or somebody else in the organization. Anyone who does well or better is always appreciated, which is worth, and it should be done. But there was a question which always remained in my mind, and I kept sharing it with everyone around, that if we do something good at the cost of something else, I think we have to be very clear about, should we be appreciated or should we expect any appreciation or not. If we do something additional to what we are supposed to do otherwise, which is our basic task to be performed, and we do additional things by applying this 10x rule, then definitely we need to be appreciated. And always trying to do more and more and more in addition to what we have been doing. So while this was again being contemplated, I realized that there was a news report in one of the newspapers that just to make sure that the children of different age group or even the college going students pursue their passion, whatever they are really good at, and then they can have a dummy sort of thing. I think in one or two of my articles I had mentioned about dummy schools or dummy colleges, and this word dummy is really something very not a very good one which was used, but nowadays being used so often. And most of the people think that having a dummy school or college and then pursuing your passion or trying to achieve something better at some other place makes a sense. Now, in a time when everybody is trying to be at achieving something or the other, being at the top, it becomes very, very important. So I may not dispute that. But the question is that why are schools and colleges then set up? If everybody has to go to specialized courses right from the beginning, even when they are supposed to learn the basic traits of life, then what's the need of schools? I've been coming across these statements from young parents that they want their children to go to schools at the age of like 18 months, maybe 2 years, 2.5 years, so that they learn social skills there. And they learn how to live other people, because most of the families nowadays in our country are also having either one child or maybe two children, and not more than that. And they want that the child should go out and be with other children and other people so that they learn how to live in a society and learn those skills. So at one point, when the child needs to be at home, we are sending the child to the school, and when the child needs to be at the school, then we are wanting him or her to go to a so-called that place where his or her skills will be sharpened than what these are done in school. So this is a little confusion to me, and but not to many people who are very clear about it, that they want their children to succeed in one particular field. But what is the basic of life? The basic of life is to be understanding everything, whatever is happening around. So I may not really be discussing too much about dummy or not dummy, so we have got to be a little careful about it. But once people start appreciating this concept of dummy, I mean, it's a trouble for me at least. And I think for education, it's not only to getting something expert in, rather being able to live life comfortably and with a lot of empathy and a lot of compassion with the rest of the people around. Because the world is not only for myself, world is for us, for us. It is our world, it's not my world. So we have to be careful in that. So the moment this word empathy came to my mind, I spoke just a minute before, I realized that when you come to school, when you are there in the school or later in any of the organizations, this word empathy is very, very important. And this empathy is not usually learned in those specialized coaching centers. So this can be learned in the family, this can be learned in a school. And then somebody might ask me the question, what is empathy? Now, empathy is, this is something which I would like to share from a book which I read. This is HBR collection of certain research papers which they really publish, and I read it there. And Goldman was talking to, Goldman was the one who is responsible for doing research on emotional intelligence, and he had spoken to Dalai Lama once. And while he was talking to him, he understood, and he wrote a book also based on his life and how could he become such a wonderful and so concerned leader of the world, not of a country or an organization, but of the world. So in that book, the person talks about empathy particularly and compassion. And in empathy, he says that empathy can be divided into, because this is a very, very important part of emotional intelligence, which is so much spoken nowadays. So empathy basically is in three ways it can be said. One is cognitive. Cognitive means here the ability of one to understand the other person's point of view. So if I can understand the other person's point of view, I am empathetic towards that person, and it will be called as cognitive empathy. The second one, this is emotional empathy. Ability to feel what the other person is feeling is the emotional empathy. And then is empathetic empathy, where I understand the need of I can sense the need, what the person is wanting from me, and what help or what kind of help is required to that person. So these are the three empathy definitions which can be, or empathy can be divided into. And then a question was asked, then what is the difference between empathy and compassion? Are these not the two same things? And the fellow says that no, this may not be so, because compassion comes out to be slightly more important. And of course, empathy is also important, but compassion has something when you feel the distress of the other person. If you are able to feel the distress of the other person, and then you would like to really help that person as much as you want. And what he's trying to make us understand is that compassion basically is like understanding and caring. So I understand. So if I understand, I remain empathetic. But if I care also about that person, try to help that person, then it becomes compassion. And we have compassion for our children. We don't only understand them, but we care for them. And if it is done everywhere, if it is learned by everyone, I think this world will become much better than what it is today. So in today's time, the emotional intelligence is very, very important. And I will continue with this particular thing only because once I started with the dummy, because in dummy you make a person to be expert in one particular field, but there will be so many other soft skills which the child will be, or a person will be deprived of, because the child may not be able to understand and learn those things in that very competitive world. Because in competition, what happens? Now I can give you an example, a recent example, say volleyball match between two teams, and those teams belong to the same class, and they all are very good friends. All 12-15 of them are very good friend of each other. But once they are volleyball court, what happens there? They all try to make the other team, the opposite team, the opponents, to feel little down. And I heard it myself. Those very good friends would tell, no, he can't won't be able to do it. So they're also the very good friends of each other. And when they are playing opposite to each other, there's a competition. They start trying to make the other one feel down so that they win. So when I came across such situation once or twice, where I used to work, I did talk to those children that this is a very, very natural instinct. It happens very, very naturally. But at the same time, try to be careful. You should try to, because I also suffered the same. What I'm saying, I'm trying to make all of you understand it should not be done. But I also did the same when I was a competitor, when I was also playing the team which had my own good friends, because I wanted to win for my team. So that happens. But if that can be done in a slightly different manner, would be better. And how do we do it? That in spite of making the others feel down, whether they are my friend or they are not my friend, and in spite of making them feel down, let me use my strengths. I should work based on my strength, not necessarily based on the weakness of somebody else. Of course, I must have an idea about the weakness of somebody, but my strength should be paramount for me. Because if I would work based on my strengths, then definitely I'll be doing very well in life. So when it comes to competition in these places, when I talk of those expert coaching places, there it is competition. Most of the time it is competition. So whereas in school classrooms scenario, I would compare the two in 1 or 2 points only. In a classroom scenario, there is no competition. There is always a cooperation sort of situation where everybody is trying to help the other person. They are not really bothered about whether he or she has learned more than me or has performed better than me. I mean, that's not my concern. I will not try to bring somebody, or nobody will try to bring somebody down to become the first position holder or second position holder. They'll be helping each other. So the difference is of cooperation and competition. And whenever there is a competition, there is always a likelihood that you may not be helping, or you will not be learning to help the other one. It's not that competition is a bad thing. Competition brings best out of you, but best out of you. Make it short. Mind these words. Best out of you, not the worst out of the other person. If I win because somebody had not been able to really perform well, so that winning may not be that fruitful, that great as it would be when the other person has given his or her best and I have given better than the other person, then the winning makes a sense to me. And this competition is a healthy competition. We call it as a healthy competition. So in schools we learn cooperation, whereas at other places we learn competition, and both are required. But I think cooperation is the base for everything and we should do it. So my advice to all would be that our children need schools and colleges, and they should be allowed to go there. And schools and colleges also need to really change themselves. In spite of focusing only on academic part and trying to achieve the best result academically, they must provide opportunities to the children as much as they can, either during the time when they are here in the school or maybe afterwards. So that they are able to pursue their passion, but at the same time they are learning those basic life skills also, which are so important for making this world a better place to live. And if we try only for gaining the expertise, then I think we'll be really killing certain those soft skills which are so important for all of us to live together in a society and in a family. I think this has made some sense to all of you, and this will make us to rethink about being away from school and colleges, and if we can help our children not to really get into that situation of when they are not able to help themselves, they do not seek help from others, and they get into that sort of self-isolation that it becomes difficult for them to cope up with the challenges with the life and the future would always really pose for them. So I hope we'll do better for our children and make them learn both the skills which are so important for life, and of course being expert in whatever field they really want to really go ahead. So thank you very much. God bless us all. We meet in the next episode on such topic which will help our children and all of us. Thank you.